Tonight, on a very special Blotto Beatles.
Wasn't ready for this.
It's the 2nd anniversary Blotto Beatles Spectacular! Oh, let's go, boys. I am here. It's me, Tommy, here on a very, very special work night with my good friends, as always. A-side to my A-side, Becker. What is up, my guy?
I didn't expect so much pomp and circumstance.
Well, here we are. You asked if I was ready for an intro. I am ready for an intro. But on the ones and twos tonight, we have your favorite mime, the George Martin of New England executive producer, Scotty C. What's going on?
Twos. Let's see who vetoes what.
What's up, man? And, of course, as always, we have our music supervisor, RB. That B does stand for Beatles. Good evening, RB.
Evening. Thought it stood for brilliant.
I mean, that's not.
Well, it's a lot of things. A lot of things. Sometimes it stands for Blotto.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Our Blotto. So, gents, we are here to celebrate our 2nd anniversary of the podcast. I think let's just start there for a second. We've been doing this. This was a COVID project. It's hard to believe that in some way we are still in and out of that world of COVID, but life continues to at least speed back to normal in maybe unhealthy ways. But with all that said, what does it mean, Becker, to you to have done this for 2 years, to have released 40 some odd episodes?
Yeah.
How you feeling about that accomplishment tonight?
Well, I mean, first off, I think it's amazing that we cured COVID. So, Blotto Beatles really did all they could to take care of that. Yeah, I step back all the time, and I'm constantly impressed. Like, I feel like in the earlier episodes, we really sort of like constantly went back to being like, I can't believe people are listening. I can't believe we're still doing this project, and we're good friends. And I still feel all of those things. I just don't say them as much, you know, like up until the fact that we could record during COVID and make this project happen. But even today, just seeing any sort of listens and people writing us a note or dropping us a like or any of those things, like they still move me a ton and keep me so excited to hop on the mic with you guys. We've had a funny hiatus of recording a little bit and just getting together tonight. I'm still like equally excited to continue doing this.
Well,
Scotty, RB, do you have anything to add to those wonderful sentiments?
Oh, I totally agree. It was a lot easier during COVID.
No kidding. It was.
I had way more time to do karaoke and edit.
Yeah.
But
If people had plans, you could be like judgy about it. Be like, what do you mean you have plans? We're in lockdown. We're in rockdown.
what could you possibly be doing? Yeah. But exactly what you said there, you know, where it's like whenever we, you know, sign on and get together, I'm also equally as excited and pumped to hang out and talk and do this Beatles thing we do, and it's been so cool, like hearing silly stuff people say and all that stuff, like really silly things like Tommy's right and all that crap. You know?
Yeah, ludicrous. Clearly, our fans are drinking along with us.
RB is the newest kind of official member of Blotto Beatles. You've always been a member of Team Blotto here since well before we started the podcast, even. But as the most recent addition to the air, I think really within the last year, it's been amazing having you. I think you've added so much, and especially in terms of the musical knowledge you bring and the sort of theory piece. But any thoughts today as you're kind of moving along on this journey with us?
I was a little overwhelmed actually when I went back and looked at the list, and I was like, wow, it's a lot of episodes in here.
I can't wait to veto something.
Yeah, exactly. I had a lot of thinking to do. I was like, oh, I'll take a peek at the list, and and then it's a little overwhelming. I'm super happy to be, you know, a part of this. I'm glad that you guys opened this up for me, because it's been a great time. And you know, obviously enjoyed doing the music stuff, and making the karaoke tracks, but I just love hanging out with you guys too. So
yeah, I love
happy
that
anniversary, everybody.
Front of house, yeah,
right?
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Cheers
What is the 2nd year anniversary?
It's cotton.
Cotton.
The look,
Well,
the feel of cotton. Cut the fabric of our lives.
Whoa. I am moved.
Speaking
Did
of
you do
Cotton,
that in
I
the
don't know if-
style of a Neville brother?
Yeah, you definitely.
Yeah,
did.
that's
Yeah.
who sang it. It was Aaron Neville that sang that
He
song.
sings the Cotton song?
Yeah, you didn't know
I didn't
that?
know that.
He also sings
Wow.
the Little People.
Yeah, he
theme
definitely
song.
sings the Cotton song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I did such a great impression that you
Nailed
picked it up, given that you didn't know.
that. I was thinking of it. It
It's-
doesn't matter. We're keeping it tight tonight.
Well, speaking of Cotton, I don't know if you guys see what I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
bootleg
I'm
McCartney
wearing
shirt.
a pretty sick.
You have a weird.
Paul-
Are you getting a weird rash from that bootleg McCartney shirt?
I did. I have this bootleg Paul McCartney tour shirt that I bought right outside Fenway Park, hanging with you dudes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
a couple of our moms,
That was great too.
my brother. We all went and saw Macca.
We did.
June 7th, Fenway
Yep.
Park. And he did not disappoint me. I don't know about you guys. What's Becker, what did you feel coming out of that show? What's your original take here? Your initial take? I should
Yeah, it's
say.
funny. So we went to the show that was a couple weeks ago. It was the last time we hung out in person, and we've sort of put a moratorium on talking about McCartney. It sort of leaked out a little bit. I know that Tommy and Scotty drove home from the show, and I think it took them like 4 hours. So
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that they didn't talk about McCartney despite the moratoriums. But
Just.
I'm
learn.
gonna say a couple things about Paul. You know, especially going into like year 2, going into year 3, I guess the pod. I started. He wasn't my favorite Beatle. This past year, a ton has changed for me on Paul. Talking about songs, talking about the music, listening to some other great Beatles podcasts that I love, and just talking to other Beatles people. I've come around a ton on Paul. Come around a ton on some of the solo Paul stuff, and then seeing the show really brought it all together for me. Like I was blown away by it. You know, I have strayed away from seeing Paul or this is the first time I've seen any Beatles because I thought it would just be a pure nostalgia act. And it's so interesting in that it is a nostalgia act in a way that like the majority of songs were not written before the height of Wings, right? I know he plays some other stuff, but the majority of songs are still, the newest one is 30 years old, you know, despite For You and all that stuff. But I found it really amazing. He was super compelling. He was such a showman. Like, I don't know. I sat there thinking so many things, but one of the biggest things was like, he was just built for stardom. Like, is there any way, like, he was just built to be a pop star, you know, like he should be giving less, like, I hope he calls Harry Styles and it's like, this is how you do it. This is the blueprint because he's a master. He was up there giving it his all for 2 hours, 45 minutes or something. He's got a full head of hair that's just blowing in the wind. I mean, you know, a couple of us have a decent head of hair. I'm not on that list, but like, it was just like it always looked cool. And I was like, this guy is amazing, you know, but.
And along with that, to add to the star thing, believe it or not, right before the show started, I went out to the vendor and got a beer, right outside our seats, and everyone started cheering, and I looked over the railing, and Paul McCartney was out on the street, one story below us, waving to everybody with an acoustic guitar in his hand, just like he was walking down Lansdowne Street with an acoustic guitar in his hand, hopped in like a little black van and drove off backstage, and he was on the stage in 10 more minutes, and like clearly gone down to be like, I want to walk around people a little bit and see what's going on down there, you know. And like
cool.
Like you're saying, that's part of the blueprint, is that modesty of being like, I want to be around everyone and just be part of the thing.
I thought you were going to tell a different story because in very true Blotto fashion, like Tommy said, we brought our moms, and I got to our seats a little bit earlier. I was sitting in front of the rest of the guys, and I got to the seats a little bit earlier. Tommy and RB and Scotty were sitting behind me, and they came a couple minutes later, and I heard a little bit of a commotion, and suddenly Tommy walking down the aisle, he just stomps this lady's Bud Light, her like $18 Fenway Park Bud Light. It splashes up my back. I'm like, who is this guy?
Made a
I look
grand
around,
entrance.
it's Tommy, and I was like, all right, like this is how Blotto Beatles take their seats at Fenway Park.
She was so mad.
I will correct it in saying that you very generously came back around. You said, I'm sorry, I smashed someone's Bud Light. I'm going to go fix it. And you bought this woman a Bud Light.
Of
I
course.
bought her
I
Bud
think she
Light,
was very-
Tommy.
when normally I would come back with 2 in hand for myself.
Oh, yeah,
But
you got lemon.
you reciprocated later on. You bought one for us later on. I appreciated that.
You were like, dilly dilly. Here's your Bud Light.
I don't know what that means. Scotty, what about you? Any big stuff you're walking away?
First of all, Becker, your hair is just excellent. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I was going to bring this up. You're not creeping in the corners or anything. Like, you're
Nobody
doing all
here.
right.
We are young and
We are
sexy
full-headed as a
yeah.
pod, you know.
in the head.
I thought during the show at one point I was like, does Paul have like extensions? How does he have such like luxurious hair? And then you're like, rich people can do anything. you know, like you know,
But his
it's
hair
like
got like
stem cells in your hair or something. Like I don't know.
his hair was looking great. It got
Yeah, he looked
sweaty
awesome.
though. I mean, he was out there rocking. He has
He
a
worked
great
hard.
band with him.
Yep.
Yep.
And he didn't look great all the time. You know, his hair because it was windy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he, like you said, he is an ultimate lead man, professional pop star, like built for it, made for it. But he really performs really well. His voice sounds great. I mean, he just turned 80 years old.
Yeah, that I
His
couldn't believe.
voice sounded unbelievable.
And I want to, Scotty, I don't want to interrupt too much, but I heard people complaining about his voice and saying he kind of lost his fastball or something. And before the show, so I was a little concerned about that. And you hear moments where his band is supporting him maybe a little more than they used to in different parts. You know, they're adding, they're doubling, something like that. But it's not like, and I feel bad even saying this because I love the artist. It's not like Brian Wilson, though, where you've got the Wonderments basically singing the whole thing and Brian occasionally like piping in a word or two. Like Paul is the lead vocalist up
He's
there.
the leader of the
Absolutely,
band,
still he's
yeah.
killing it.
And are we not adjusting our expectations just a little bit that he's giving us this much? Like, I don't,
I will say, in addition to all those compliments, being far away at a stadium like that, the sound system did
Oh my
not
God.
perform at a level that I had hoped it would.
Yeah.
And it's a tough thing. I'm not blaming anyone or knocking anyone, but certain frequencies and certain stuff overpowered other things and wind and all that stuff. I would have loved to have gotten a killer mix, but it is what it is. I mean, it's tough to play those big places.
And
I agree with that completely.
This is not a.
And the funny thing is, earlier in the set, I think, probably a bunch of listeners have already seen Paul a bunch, and I've heard that he's sort of reused the set and all of that, and I'm less familiar with that. But at the beginning of the show, there's sort of a DJ, and he's playing, Beatles music, Paul music, and he's clearly playing like the songs that Paul isn't going to play for you. And the mix is so bad through the stadium system that I was worried about the show. I was like, oh, this sounds awful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys felt that way, but like where we
all
were
phased
sitting
out
and
everything.
it just was like, oh, this is not good. I was worried about this show a little bit. Like, if you're playing this Beatles mix, like, why is it not like, get Giles on the phone, like remix this thing for whatever is going on in stadiums, because it sounded like it was coming off of Spotify. Like, I was a little wary about it. And then, things were cleared
Hot
up,
take.
Talking
I
about
do-
Giles.
I was really impressed with just Paul's stamina. Like he he played like a 30 whatever song set list. His band like disappears for part of it. Paul's still up there playing solo. Like everybody else in the band got a little break. Paul did not.
True. Yeah.
He just powered through the whole thing, and then like he did the whole thing again the next night.
I know.
Yeah, right?
That's what's
Yeah.
crazy about it. I saw.
I don't like.
think of that.
He looked like he was having such like a blast. I can't picture him ever retiring. Like this.
I know.
This is just like
loves
he's gonna
to
do
perform.
this
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Never-ending tour.
for the rest of his life.
It was on Twitter, I think,
To
from
Scotty's
Ryan
point-
Walsh from Hallelujah of the Hills, and I think he remarked that Paul doesn't drink water that entire show. Like, you never saw him with like a drink on stage or hydrate. I know the lights dip, and maybe they give him a B12 shot to his buttocks or something. Like maybe something's going on, but like that man is a machine. Like, how does he not? Maybe he's got a Camelback built in there.
And that Hoffner.
You think like
To Scotty's point about the size of the show, we actually did talk very little about the show.
Yeah.
I think we brought up a couple tunes, and I want to hit some highlights in a second. But all that made me think was that if Paul McCartney comes to town again, I'm paying big money to get a better seat.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't care. I'm gonna pay. That was the most expensive ticket I've ever got paid for a concert, and we had a great sight line, but we were pretty far away. And I think this is a group of 4 people who enjoy a rock club, not
Yeah.
necessarily a stadium show, right? You know, that's
I go to
not
a show
my-
like this
my
every
vibe.
5 years, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I would pay hundreds of dollars more to be halfway down on the field.
What I thought was more interesting about
Feeling
that
like I was
angle
part
for
of the
me
show.
is like, what if he stopped doing these shows? Like, what if he went the Springsteen on Broadway route, and if he didn't
Yeah.
have to get in a plane or travel or fly or do whatever he's doing between stops? Like, imagine he gets to plant and be rested and in his own bed every single night, and is doing just like a theater show or something like that. Like, do you think he's so in love
Go in a
with
heartbeat.
the stadium performance? Because it did seem like he loved the stadium, you know. But I would also go the other route where I would travel to wherever and I would go see that show. I'm not saying it has to be up on Broadway, but I would go see that show. Paul taking over a theater in Vegas for a year. I would be there. I'd be there twice, you know.
Yeah. I think it comes back to some of the things we've said about Paul before that maybe don't sound as endearing in that idea that he shies away from being so personal in his songwriting and his craft and everything. And if you're doing something like Springsteen on Broadway, it really has to be a bare your soul personal thing, which, hey, I'm in for if Paul is. Like, I want every part of that. You know?
He can do anything. Like
He could
name
do
it.
anything.
You name
he
it,
could.
he can do it. Yeah.
And maybe he is taking the populace, like, let's go out here and reach as many people as possible. Though. Like, let's play baseball. Let's play 35,000 people a night. And, you know, it's a pricey ticket, but he's selling it out. People are showing up, you know. What do we
He's gonna
think about
succeed.
the...
Yeah, he's gonna succeed if you put him on Broadway, or you put him up there with somebody like
Yeah.
Rick Rubin's thing he did 3-2-1
Yeah,
on stage,
knows
and then
exactly.
he runs through songs, and he has all the instruments around him. Like, all that's gonna be great. Anything he does is gonna be amazing.
He played more instruments than I thought he was going to play.
Yeah,
You know, I thought he would play piano, guitar, bass, and then that George
You
Harrison...
weren't expecting that ukulele.
George Harrison
the
ukulele bit that got me. That almost got me more than the Lennon thing because I knew about the Lennon thing. I loved that something moment. I really thought that was pretty
I
fantastic.
did too. I when he first came out with the uke and started doing it, like he was playing it fast, like he was playing, and I was like, like, is he gonna do this whole song like just rushing through it? And then it got to like the midpoint of the song, like where the guitar solo happens, and like the whole band came in. It was like the original arrangement came back in. But like the slideshow that they had behind him was so, it's like, it was just like Paul and George through the years, and it was so touching.
Yeah. The visuals in the whole show were unbelievable, weren't they? Like, it's so weird to be like, that was an important part of the music. I'm not usually that guy, but it really added something, I thought. You know?
There's also some weird visuals where they're just like 3D renderings of like, I don't know, like long-legged giraffes. and
Beatles
stuff.
rock band?
Like,
They
yeah,
did reuse-
exactly.
they did
Like,
reuse the
it was
Beatles rock band. I thought that was
Beatles rock band are
The animation
and
from
when I
Beatles
played
Rock
Beatles rock band, I'm also like relatively like, what is some of this stuff? And so I thought, you know, some of it seemed a little funny in there, but yeah.
Like the giant elephant playing the
Yeah,
bass drum.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like someone just,
I'd love to. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
someone just
Oh, me?
gave, you know,
Me?
one guy some money, and he was like, "Oh, I've heard Bean for the benefit of Mr. Kite, and I'm a 3D artist."
Yeah. I would love to hit what I thought were some big highlights of the set quickly, run them down, and then maybe we wrap up here. I mean, coming out with Can't Buy Me Love was just a banger.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm at a Beatles show right now, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know,
We got everyone into
I was
it. I don't
almost
think there
hoping-
wasn't a person there like clapping and singing. You know,
No. And part of me was almost like, oh, I wish he would have started with like Longtail Winter Bird from McCartney 3 or
So
something.
I
you
will
know, which
say that
I
that
think
was
could have
weird. to
played
me.
well.
I thought it was weird that there was no McCartney 3 stuff. There was so much fanfare and
there was
excitement.
one song.
There was one song, but it was maybe the worst song of McCartney 3. It was the "You Come On to Me, I'll Come On to You" tune.
Yeah,
They
Come
played.
On With Me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I don't
That's
like
not my
that
favorite
song
song of that.
very much. No. Let Me Roll It.
Oh
my
that
goodness.
How good was Let Me Roll It?
He was
Like,
ripping that.
when
he was ripping that riff hard too. Like
That riff is so good.
His
And you know he loves playing that riff. He was doing the little Paul
that
head
was the
bob
thing
thing
too. Like
while he was
his
playing it.
instruments were not like buried in like the, the younger pros were
No.
doing everything. Like he was out front when everything he was doing. It was awesome.
Yep.
I was really happy that they
that-
used a real horn section rather than trying to do it on a
Yes.
synthesizer.
Yeah.
Having those 3 horn players, and they looked like they were having a blast too. They were up
Yeah.
there dancing, and they sounded great.
I don't think because we're going live. I just want to be. I don't think "Come On to Me" is from like Egypt Station. It's not on McCartney 3.
Oh,
yeah.
is it?
Because I was like,
My
I looked
bad.
at this list ahead of time, and I was like, why is there no McCartney 3 in here?
Oh, that's very strange then.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't
So,
know about that.
I could be wrong.
I'm not a professional.
You might be right, dude. You might be right.
You
yeah,
might be
that's
right.
the one right before McCartney 3, right? Yeah.
You
I might be
And so
crazy.
I was really surprised about that because I was like, all this lead up of like McCartney 3 stuff and so
Yeah.
much excitement. But all things said, he's not playing McCartney 1 and 2 stuff. So you're like, all right, maybe this is a different thing. Like maybe this is the stadium show he gives us someday. Like maybe he doesn't think this is to be performed in this format or something. But yeah, like you said,
they
Long
gave that
Tail
all
Winter
to the-
Bird or one of those things. Like I think he could have come out and played that when they changed the set and sort of went to that Bayou.
in front of the house or whatever.
Bayou,
yeah.
that swampy front of house sort of origins set.
They
Yeah,
gave that
but
all
sorry.
to the DJ to take care of.
Yeah.
You played McCartney
It's like
3
we don't
stuff.
want to play. But sorry, go back to let
So
me
we got-
roll it. That was big.
Oh my god. That was maybe a top 2 highlight for me.
I
the
have been
whole
singing
show.
that song ever since, and
Yeah.
I was like, it's so great.
Yeah.
And you know what was really big? Like, it's clearly like a rehearsed moment, but he takes off like his denim jacket and he rolls his sleeves up during that song.
Yeah.
And Tommy and I both have some matching tattoos of a rolled up shirt. And I was like, like Paul's like, all right, I'm getting to work here. Like, it's a rehearsed moment and you can see through it. But because it was the first time I saw it, I was like, I like this a lot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And everyone's hooting and hollering
Yeah.
like
Oh,
he's
keep
As if he's
going.
stripping
Yeah.
for them. or
He's showing
something.
some forearm, an 80-year-old forearm.
Becker, you are absolutely right. Come On to Me is an Egypt Station song. And with that, dear Scruffs and Team Blotto, I offer an official, in this very moment talking about McCartney, apology.
We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. All apologies. We're so sorry.
Yeah, I thought I had looked
Thank
at.
you
I
for
thought I had
pointing
looked
that
at it
out.
ahead of time, and I was like, "Is there really no McCartney 3
Yeah.
stuff? Did I go get a beer
Yeah.
during that?" But
So we got I've Just Seen a Face. Do you know which great song?
that felt
Love
good.
it. The next night instead they got We Can Work It Out.
Really?
Did you,
Oh,
that
they
was the
changed that?
one change in the set.
Oh.
That was the only change, which I would have much rather seen
Yeah.
We Can Work It Out. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that
would've been
tune.
great.
Live and Let Die was awesome.
Yeah. Pyrotechnics.
Is that when we got the
Second.
fireworks?
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah, you said to me right afterwards, boy, people still like fireworks.
People went crazy about it. Like people
Yeah.
really did like get a little too excited for fireworks.
We all knew I've Got a Feeling was coming, and so I think it maybe lost a little bit of the magic because we had heard about it, but it was still very, very cool thing
I felt a real
to
thing
see
about
and be
it.
a part of.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a really big thing about seeing
Um,
this type of show too, and we started in the daylight, and that was weird. I felt really
Yes.
out of it for probably the first 5 to 10 songs, and then it got dark,
Yep.
and you're in Fenway Park, and there's so many people there, but you can't quite see them. Like I don't know. Then it just starts feeling more interesting or more intimate, or something that's happening. Like I don't know. I remember being a kid and going to baseball games, and when it got dark, like it seemed scary that so many people were together in the dark. And I mean, guys, I wasn't scared of the show. Don't worry about that. But like,
At least you had
there's
your
just
mom with you.
something.
You did grab my hand at one point.
Something feels better about the.
Did you say because his mom was
I
there?
said at least
Scotty?
he had his mom with him.
Yeah.
Something feels better in the dark, and then he had these 2 giant, brilliant, towering LCD screens on them, and they suddenly started looking so good. And they would cut to a shot where Paul was probably, 100 feet tall. Like I have no idea. Like, And it was
Yeah.
amazing. Like, to be that far away, but to know that he was there and his picture was there and he's making this noise, like, that all came together that I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
And I think that comes perfectly to my last highlight, which was Helter Skelter.
oh my gosh, yeah.
And the reason, like, the song sounded awesome. It
There's
killed.
some wild visuals for that
But-
one too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best part of it in my mind was, and it comes back to what Scott started with here, they took away the video of the band during that time, and you were forced. They had some wild visuals going on all those screens, but you were forced to watch the band, even if they were a little smaller, and that was
Yeah.
awesome. Like, that was the moment where I was like, I'm at a Paul McCartney show right
Yeah.
now. This is unreal. Instead of being like, I'm watching Paul on TV to some degree. you
I'm
know?
so curious about how he decides to pick all of these songs, but like I do feel like that piece of Helter
Yeah.
Skelter was like that's like a statement performance where he's basically like, you know, I'm gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna let them forget that this is one of my songs. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Let it rock.
I,
so
I
thought
did
that
think it
pretty
was
great.
a little weird, and like that encore was just straight on, Beatles to the,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
way through. But like
On tomorrow,
preceding Helter Skelter with Birthday was, I
Yeah,
think,
that
really
was-
kind of put me
Yeah, that's
took
right.
me out of it for a minute. I was
I
like,
know.
what?
Absolutely.
If I have limited time with Paul and I've basically paid, I don't know, $2 a minute or something like that, I don't need to hear Birthday. Like, I really don't. And
Not
I
at
get it.
all.
And he went around and they did the sign thing, I think, during that. And they're like, oh, who's got a birthday and all of that. Like, I get it. It's crowd work, but I don't need it. Like, give me any. I mean, we haven't had to rate Birthday yet, thank God. But, like, maybe give me any other Beatles song right there, and I would be much more
Whoa.
happy,
Rocky Raccoon.
It was great.
I think it's probably time to move on. It was great. I would go back.
Yeah. I assume a ton of people who listen
one
have
fi-
seen it. I mean, on Twitter, I see everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone
I
going
mean,
to
Tommy
it.
pretty
So-
much
everyone
said
kinda
that he
went.
was going to buy us all way more expensive tickets.
Oh yeah, that was
I'm
an
excited
interesting
for that.
commitment you made. Yeah.
This
Thank
is a good
you.
time to bring up the fact that at blottobeatles.com right now, there's a sale at our t-shirt store. Go and buy a t-shirt. We see about 50 cents from each one of those t-shirts. They're on sale for $14 right now. And you can get your All Apologies shirt.
Blotto,
You can wear it
whatever you
around.
like.
And you buy enough of those, we're getting those good tickets, getting those good seats next time. Final quick story. I got home late that night. It was probably, Scotty, 2 in the morning
at
by the
least
time
1 or
we
so,
really
yeah.
rolled in. And went to bed, woke up the next morning kind of bleary-eyed and very tired. And my wife said, how was it? And I said, it was great. I got this, awesome show, blah, blah, blah. I also got a bootleg t-shirt on the side of the road, which I didn't mention. My mom got one. My brother got one. We said, how much? The guy says $20. And my mother goes, how about 15? And he goes, yeah, all right, 15. And for the rest of the night, she was like, do you see me talking to them? Do you see me do that? See me? I only paid $15. So I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, yeah, got a shirt, and I'm excited. So I go downstairs and getting ready. She comes down and she looks at it and she goes, you said it was a bootleg shirt, huh? I was like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, no kidding. It says got back. It doesn't even say get back. And I was like, well, that was actually the name of the tour. It's not that far off. I was like, that'd be amazing.
I
Like
wish
Paul,
it was a full on.
Paul McCarthy's got back.
That's awesome. Yeah, on the merch front, I didn't grab the bootleg shirt, but I was like, oh, I'm going to get the koozie. Like he had a koozie up there, but he was selling $30 koozies, and I can't in good conscience do that. We have Blotto Beatles koozies, and, we bought, I don't know,
the
500
koozie
of them or
can't be
something.
more than the beer you're putting in it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, a koozie cost us maybe 33 cents, I think, in volume. So, no disrespect to Paul. I'm sure he has nothing to do with his merchandising, but I just didn't
I
feel
was
good about
jealous. RB got that blue Get Back shirt that has the outline.
Oh yeah,
or,
with him
like,
sitting in the
sketchy
chair.
Paul,
That's
like,
when he
playing
wrote,
the
Oh,
bass.
yeah.
wrote the Get Back.
The
thing,
song,
yeah.
yeah.
I might go online.
That's
and
one of
pick
the
that one
official
up. I don't
shirts.
know.
That was
It
like
is
that was like
official.
the
I gotta
$60
regret it.
shirt, right?
It was
Yeah.
45, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I got to regret about missing out on that one. I might go back and pick one up.
Gotta do it.
Well, guys, it was a great time. I do hope we get the opportunity to do that again.
You know what? I'm
but,
gonna say it does make
that's-
me say that we should go see Ringo.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, Ringo happened to be basically at the same time in Boston. Like it was only a couple days apart, and so we kind of had to make our decision, which we made the right
I think we
decision,
picked
but
correctly.
Yeah, they
it
got
makes me
COVID
think
on
that
Ringo's.
I'm more excited to be like, all right, we should see Ringo now. Like we should do it.
Definitely.
So, fellas, we're here for one reason only, and that is to look at the official list of Blotto Beatles. This is an annual event now, Blotto Vetoes. We are going to hopefully move one song on this list. You, dear listeners, know that every episode of Blotto Beatles... Every episode of Blotto Beatles ends with us placing the song we've discussed on our canonical list, sometimes at the height of inebriation, or at the very least at the height of a few drinks later. And sometimes you wake up the next morning and you say, what did we
Emotions
do?
from a guest. Yeah.
I think things went wrong last night. And so we have allowed ourselves once per year the opportunity to make a pitch to each other on a song we believe should be moved, and to come to consensus on moving that one song. We will vote at the end of this, and if we can agree by a majority, we will move one of these songs. If we can't come to some level of agreement, then the list stands and we know it's perfect. So,
Scotty, like I called you last night.
do
Like
you-
I just need you to find like 11,000 votes on Cape Cod. You know?
I know like 11 people on Cape Cod.
So do you guys have any questions about how this is going to work? I'm going to pick the order right now. I got a picker
Couple
wheel
minutes
going here.
each,
But
right?
Yeah, we get
2 minutes
2 minutes each to make our
I'll
case.
put the clock on. and
At most, you don't need to use. You can yield the rest of your minutes to no one, and then the next person gets their 2 minutes.
I'm not yielding.
And
I'll stonewall you guys before I give you.
you're gonna
before I
filibuster
give
up
you
there? Is that
another
what's gonna
minute.
moment of
You're gonna read
silence
from the
might
phone
be
book?
yeah.
You're gonna read from a Mark Lewisham book. What's going on over there?
I can't wait to hear the ticker.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
Let's
pick
get
the
the
order right
order.
now. I got the wheel in front of me. Here we go. First up on the second annual Blotto Vetoes special is Scotty Blotto.
Oh, that's
Scott gets the first pick
yeah.
this
Do
year.
we want to do them all now, or do you
Wow,
want me to do
that's-
my thing now?
I'm going to do them
Ah,
all
good,
right
good.
now. I'm going to remove you from the wheel, and we're going to go the next one.
That's a real wheel, Tommy.
Number
made.
2,
Patient.
Tommy Blotto. Number 2 on
Hey,
the
crew.
list.
Sorry, losers.
All right.
First is the
Let's see
worst.
who's going third and fourth here. Fourth is good because I think
Yeah.
you're like you're leaving everyone with a memory, you know.
What do we get?
Blotto Becker,
All right.
Man. All right.
That's a clutch spot.
and then our Blotto goes last.
Interesting. All right.
All right.
Let's hear
Boy.
it.
So we have
So
our
no
order here.
interruption. Everyone gets their time, unless you directly address and are aggressive against another Blotto, and then I feel like they get to speak up.
Yeah, yeah.
If
yeah.
you come for me, I come for you.
Then
You're
I'll
gonna
come
have
for you.
wood. Yeah.
All right. So you all prepared your PowerPoint presentations, right?
I'm doing more of a TED Talk
right.
style thing. I got my headset mic in the back. I'm gonna put it on, get a spotlight
Oh,
out.
perfect.
I can run a timer here, Scott.
All right.
Actually, I believe because you're going first anyway. So we'll go 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready, sir? I'll wait till you start, and then I'll hit start.
Sounds good. Let me get the list here. I am ready. So my choice. I've been talking about this song being too low, and the song is "All My Loving" for quite a while. It was our first episode, I believe, and I feel like this song has all the makings of great songwriting. It has one of the most unique and memorable Beatley, in the style of the Beatles, arrangements, melody, and the chord progression's interesting. And John plays this cool rhythm guitar, and the solo is not really a solo; it's kind of like a singy part on the guitar. I just think it's like an incredibly well crafted pop song, and the Beatles are a pop band. So I'm proposing that it is better, and I'm not going to worry about any of the songs in between. It is better than the Magical Mystery Tour.
Which puts it at what number?
It would put it at 19.
Currently at 26.
From 26 to 19.
Currently at 26. And you want to move it to 19. What's right above Magical Mystery Tour? Just curious.
Being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
All right.
we can discuss these songs in between when we argue, but I'm looking at I was looking at the highest song that I thought All My Loving was better than, and I don't think any of the ones above it are. But I do think it's better than Magical Mystery Tour.
I like it. Strong case.
Made his case.
25 seconds left. Scott is done. I did ask a question. I apologize for asking a question in the middle there. I shouldn't have. Had you needed extra time, I think I would have been obligated to give it to you. But
Parliamentary
You're an
procedure
accommodator
would have demanded.
yeah. Robert's rules state.
Tommy's
So
up next.
was I number 2? Was that
yeah.
right?
I'll put the timer on
All
here.
right.
When you,
Thank you very much.
say "Here we go" or when you start saying it, I will
All right. Yeah.
click.
I'm not starting yet. What I'm gonna.
Oh, we
I'm
got a
gonna,
preamble guy over
yeah.
here, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna preamble a second here. I'm gonna.
We only have the 2-minute timer because of Tommy.
For the record, I like all the songs. I like all the songs in between. For the record,
Yeah.
My issue is I have 4 potentials.
Oh, you
on
have to
my
pick
list,
the
and
Yeah.
one.
Never really
you didn't
picked
sort
one.
this.
You didn't have a
I've
top
got,
dog.
I've got
Ready?
a couple backups
All right.
as well.
Here we go. I'm going with Tell Me Why, guys, from A Hard Day's Night. And this is one I've come back to a few times in conversations we've had since we recorded this episode. I think I was pretty harsh on this song for its lyrical content during the recording of the episode. And for whatever reason, that brought me down. And I think it's was heavy-handed on my part, and I think that kind of swayed you guys to put it on the list where we did. The Beatles at this time were saccharine in their lyrics from start to finish. Right? There weren't deeper lyrics there. And for me to hold them to a standard that they established 2-3 years later in their career is wildly unfair. When you look at the song, Tell Me Why, and what it's pulling from American music and especially kind of the doo-wop music of the time, I think transforming that and making it the Beatles' own, I think it's a really neat idea. My argument is that we should move Tell Me Why from number 36 up to number 27, which puts it above Things We Said Today.
All right.
So we're looking at All I've Got to Do, Wait, Free as a Bird, 8 days a week, One After 909, It's All Too Much, Martha, My Dear, and I'll Follow the Sun. I'm doing a hard push here for Tell Me Why because I think it really is the epitome of Beatlemania and the Beatles at the height of their popularity.
Wow. You guys have about 30 seconds left too. Want me to interrupt you a little bit?
Wow.
Oh, all right.
Wow. All
That's some. I kind of took this in a little bit different direction. I guess I'm ready to go. I think.
Tell Me Why is way down there,
right.
huh?
You-
Yeah.
Yeah. Way too low down there.
Tell me why.
I just did in a minute and 30 seconds.
I love that you had 4 ready because I was a little bit more challenged.
I kind of want to know what the other 3 were, but we'll do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
later.
but blood.
Come Together should be number 1.
That's what I thought you were gonna do.
That was one of
Shut
that was
up.
one of the-
You
that's all
can't
I had.
throw this.
That's all
if
I
you
had.
didn't lead with it,
That's
that
all I
doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count.
Yeah,
me
so
know.
for me, I took it from the angle of we've got a weird list, and things just sort of keep getting weirder and weirder. And I think that the toughest things to move right now are sort of in the top 10. So I decided that I was going to get active inside of the top 10 and sort of start shuffling things around a little bit inside of there because it's really hard to move, right? I've made a really passionate plea on Happiness is a Warm Gun. It's clear that you guys aren't super on board with that. It's clear that a bunch of our guests are not on board with it, except for maybe Ken Womack. Everyone else seems to be like, what, you know? So I'm not moving that. I'm still really supportive of that. But I think when I look at the list and think about it, it's that I want to move Here Comes the Sun. And that's a big song for me, and I think it's great, and I love George being number 2. We had Long, Long, Long for a long time in the top 10, in the top couple of 3 spots. But my real proposal is that we take Tomorrow Never Knows and put it into the second spot. Because as friends and listeners, Tomorrow Never Knows influences all of the musical shit that we love. And Walter Martin came on and he made a very good point when he was placing his tune where he's like, Tomorrow Never Knows is great. Because we just talked about it with Ethan, I think. But he was like, but is it a song? Is it this or that? And I was swayed about that in the moment and being like, you are a great songwriter. And so all of those things. But Tomorrow Never Knows is fucking revolutionary. We have it only at 7 right now. We have it behind Ballad of John and Yoko and I'm So Tired. And I think it needs to be bumped up. I think we need to move it to number 2 and sort of start shuffling it all down the line, because I think where the big mix-up needs to happen is in the top 10.
You done?
I'm done.
This guy's got a whole minute left.
Wow.
Are you swayed? Did I sway you?
Well, I have things to say,
Did
but
I-
I'm going to wait.
Are you
Things
Patrick
I said
Swayze?
today are going to be.
Zed?
I have a lot to say, but we gotta let RB do his
All right.
piece, and then we'll argue or discuss, I should say.
All right, here we go. So the one I am looking at is Free as a Bird.
I like this.
So Free as a Bird is ranked too high. Currently, it sits above. It sits above tunes from Rubber Soul. It sits above tunes from A Hard Day's Night. Like, this song was written and recorded by Lennon in 1977. It has Jeff Lynne production all over it. Free as a Bird has no business being as high as it is right now. And I am proposing that we bump it down. Down below, let's see. We've got, the ones underneath Free as a Bird are Wait. All I've got to do, Tell Me Why. You can't do that. I'm still going to go down below all of these. What You're Doing, Don't Bother Me. I'm going to stick it right above Baby It's You. That's my proposal.
Hey,
Wow.
It's an interesting one. We did have some fun on that episode. It's a fair point.
that was with Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Chris McKittrick,
Yeah.
right?
He had written the Petty book, and we were talking Wilburys. We had some fun. I think we drank a lot of
I think
whiskey
that
in the middle
I
of the
think
day.
a lot of times, what happens is a certain guest has a certain take on it, and in particular that song, I remember being at an age where the Beatles came out with something. I got the 45. It was so cool, and so I it meant more to me emotionally than.
Did
probably
RB
what it's
yield his
worth
time
as.
to you, or are you just pleading his? Are you guys
Sure he did.
in
Scotty,
cahoots?
my
He
answer.
hasn't- he hasn't said shit in like 30 seconds. I mean, come on.
All right. Well, as the rules go, we need to vote. But Tommy, do you want to give us a quick rundown on what we're voting on?
So we are now going to vote. We can't vote on our own tune because that would be
We'd all vote on our own.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so we are each going to write down on a piece of paper. We'll take a little time here and write down who you think won the argument, who you think has their pick
Wait.
right.
Do we want to argue a little bit now? Before we write it?
I mean, do you want to like ask
Yeah,
someone a question
like,
or something? Is that what you're saying?
I mean,
Okay.
you can't change what they said, though, right? I mean, that's part of it. Like Becker, I know what you're saying. But I don't know about number 2.
About
I hear
moving
what you're
Tomorrow
saying
Never
about-
Knows.
I hear about.
Oh, what are you trying to haggle right now? You're like maybe
Yeah,
I go
give me
with
all
you
my
for,
loving
like,
up
number
a couple
5.
spots.
I'll
and-
give
bring
you a
and then,
vote.
you
You
know-
give me a vote.
And then if you next year on the wheel, if you get above me, we'll do a pick swap, right? Like
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
what you're
I'm in
doing
the
right
luxury,
now.
you know?
Yeah.
We just have this funny top 10 that has a ton of John. Like Paul barely squeaks into it, and then we have George. I love Here Comes the Sun. I really do, but it's
Yeah, how
and
is
it's going to be
two
like a
of us
top
Paul's
20
best
song. Like we're going to keep talking about Here Comes the Sun, and but like some of this stuff probably needs to move. And so I am proposing this radical shift, to start, getting with the times a little bit.
Oh, I love right now how you're presenting yourself as like, oh, I don't know. I know you guys don't want to be as edgy as I am right now, and like as radical.
You guys
dudes,
are like moving
but-
things in the 30s and 20s, and it might as well be the 1920s the way we're talking about it. Because I'm saying, like, let's get with the times. Let's talk
my
top tens.
God, get
Let's
over
do some
yourself.
bold moves. And I'm talking Tomorrow Never Knows, right?
Yeah.
We're a podcast that's
tom-
experimented with our brains a little bit. And you're going to tell me that Tomorrow Never Knows isn't one of the greatest brain experimentations?
Tomorrow's never gonna know about this conversation because you ain't winning. I know that much.
All right. Want to
all
start
right.
writing some names down, or you want to argue a little bit?
I got mine
All right.
ready.
Yeah.
I've written mine.
And it
wonder if
doesn't
this is gonna
include
be-
your name. All right.
We're writing the. It does not include my name. We're writing the person's name, not the pick. I mean, I guess.
Can
you
we
could write
play
that,
a little
but-
theme song music while we're doing this? What about The Word?
Hey, you want to hear the word? You know that one? They're by the Beatles.
Or how about are the words?
Is the word not drink with me? Is the word with some whiskey? Is the word not have a shot? Is the word and we got Blotto?
Blotto Beatles, brought to you by BlottoBeatles.com. Go to our store and get a T-shirt on sale for $14. And we're back.
Oh, we're back. Yeah.
All right, RB left.
He was so upset with this episode, which is weird. I feel like he
Did
could
we
be more upset
disrespect? Did we
with other
disrespect?
episodes.
You know, we do drink on our episodes, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
nature may
Have we not
call.
talked about that enough?
Oh, he needed
Um,
a pen.
He's back.
He needed a pen, and that's
He's
a very
He needed a
very
pen. All right.
important thing when you have to write something on a piece of paper. Is
Yeah.
a pen.
Yeah.
I wrote mine in blood, and
I thought we had
I'm
some-
actually unhappy that you guys
Blood.
were not committed enough to the pod to sort of sketch in blood. So, are we doing it all at once? Are we doing it around the horn?
Yeah, we do it all at once. I think we're gonna, and then I will announce for the listening on. Or should we go around the? You want to go around the horn? That
Do I
might be
trust
better.
you?
I'll tell you what I voted for.
Why do we write it down
I
if we're
voted
just going to go
for-
around the horn?
Oh yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. So I've got Scotty Blotto.
No.
Scott picked our
nightmare.
Blotto. RB picked Scotty Blotto, and Becker picked our Blotto. We
got
have a
fisticuffs.
two-way tie.
Wow, this is crazy.
We have a
I
two-way-
actually did not see
So
this
Becker
coming.
and I've been shut out. Becker and I've been shut
Yeah,
out. Totally shut out. This is also my second year in a row with 0 votes on my take. I want to just point
get
that
the-
out. Not that I'm
Get
holding
the
a grudge.
hint.
Not that I'm holding a grudge. But
so-
all right, here's what I'm gonna say. We have an opportunity right now. I think we got a minute or two. If we have questions we want to ask Becker of these two, or if they have final statements, or if they want to pick on each other a little bit about the picks. Like, Scotty, do you see a hole in RB's argument, or RB, do you see a hole in Scotty's?
Well, we
argument?
voted for
Or
each
what do
other.
we-
I
so-
actually voted for RB because I thought his argument was pretty.
That's
It was
true.
pretty great. I mean,
That's
I mean, if I have to make a direction, a vote, like, we have Free as a Bird, an anthology tune, like we said, that John recorded on a boombox that Jeff Lynne got his dirty fingernails into. We have that at 33 above a bunch of records and songs that we like.
Okay.
I think it's a hard case. I think we have to bump it down and sort of
So-
resettle a bit,
you said what above
Becker,
Baby It's You?
counterpoint.
What was it? Sha la 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 la.
Yes,
Is
above
that,
Baby
is that what you?
It's You,
Is that
right?
what you suggest?
That's where I slotted it.
Yeah,
I-
I can see that.
Becker, here's what I'll say as a counterpoint to that argument. And this is maybe the best way to handle this, is that we argue for the people we voted for to try and convince each other to change the vote.
Isn't that what I just did without talking
what-
about it? Isn't that what I just
Yeah, but I'm gonna- yeah,
naturally
I-
did as sort of a gifted podcaster?
Oh boy. Here we go.
Never
I
again.
can't edit this, guys.
All right, let's vote for
So-
your favorite between Tommy and Becker, real quick. Write it down.
Forget about the
Who's
list.
your favorite A sign?
Let's talk about Scott's pick for
Yeah.
a second. Actually, let's talk about RB's pick.
Whatever.
Maybe Freeze a Bird isn't the best song. What got you back into the Beatles after being a kid? What was the big event of maybe the 1990s that
Are you
revitalized
trying to
the
say
Beatles
that
for you?
anthology
That actually,
was the moment?
My
I-
parents divorced,
I'm
and I
saying
was filled
anthology.
with so much sadness as a
And
kid
only
looking
John,
at a
Paul, George,
broken
and Ringo
household.
were there to console you.
No, seeing them in
during
the
that
anthology
very-
was almost scary in a way, But going back and thinking about what was my vote? I've lost it.
Which guy did I pick?
Free as a Bird was great. It was an awesome video. It was fun of the time. It doesn't stand up. Like that's the reality of it, All My Loving, I also think is fantastic. I do think that we're short shifting it, but we've got next year. There's 2023. Let's deal with Free as a Bird. Let's put this bird to bed.
So you want me to bring
All
this
My
back
Lovin'
next
is-
year, you said?
The most important song. All My Lovin' is the most important song to introducing the people to the American people to the Beatles. Like, let's take what a great song it is out of that and just talk about the cultural context of it being important, way more important than Good Day Sunshine, right? Like, which is right above it. So much more important than Lady Madonna or Nowhere Man. This is what brings the Beatles to America. And not only that, it's got a sick melody. It's a banger. Like,
If it
this
was
thing-
so,
and it's
if
got
it
that
was
John
so
Lennon
important,
guitar part.
Tommy, why didn't Paul
Yeah.
play it last week?
'Cause
Why
it's
did he
too
open
good.
his set with "Can't
too
Buy Me
good.
Love"?
If he played All My Lovin', the place would have erupted. Everybody would have exploded.
filled with urine. Would have been
You think
filled
that
with urine.
you think the stadiums are like, we can't, we'll do "Can't Buy Me Love." We
Yeah.
can't allow "All My Love."
I'm pretty sure.
can't
Yeah.
have
I'm
The,
a
the
little
green
positive.
monster will crumble.
Close your eyes. I mean, come
Oh
on,
my
like
God, that would've been
he's
amazing.
It's
bouncing
great.
all over the place with this great vocal.
But
and
that's where I think it's like solidly. So here's the biggest argument. The biggest argument I want to make about this: if "All My Loving" never moved, does it belong to be, once we get to 220 tracks, does it belong to be at 26?
after
It doesn't.
after the rest.
It's
of
going
the
to get. It's going to get shifted.
Yeah.
It's a lower tune. It's top 50. It's not
Yeah.
bottom 50. It's top 50.
but it's already under half of that.
It's already halfway
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But I'm saying where it sits right now. If you had to,
You want
You
me
know.
to be patient? Is that what you're saying?
if tomorrow we all got hit by a bus and they read this list at all of our funerals,
Magical mystery.
Becker,
bus.
tomorrow never knows.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm putting a back end vote for my own tune right there.
Revote.
Do we want to do a quick revote and see if anyone was swayed?
I mean, I can't
All right.
change.
There's
my-
no one swayed.
Sorry,
I can't change my mind.
I
It's
can't vote
between
for
you
mine.
So it's between Tommy and I.
Yeah.
I am.
Well, you could vote. You could vote for me.
That's-
Let me talk one more time about.
Here's the thing. I'm
I'm not changing
my vote either.
All right, so I think then here's where we are at the second annual Blotto Beatles. Here's the good news, everyone. We have a perfect list. That's the realization. Nothing needed to be moved. We have an absolutely perfect.
Maybe we could
list.
throw something out
Right?
there to the Blotto Scruffs.
Yeah, I would love to hear. You know,
I'm not letting them get their mitts on
No?
this thing.
Wow. You're so
No way.
controlling.
yeah.
Oh wait, we're doing this
Somebody,
on live.
somebody
Go
please
right
drunk.
out.
Yeah.
No
Somebody
edits.
please drunk dial and tell us who.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
let Paul
I
pick.
mean, I
Actually, I would love a drunk dial on who was besides me, who was right
All
on
right.
this one.
How about this? This is a fun question.
yeah.
Which song of the four that we suggested moving you think is Paul McCartney's? Like, how's his list of those four? Even though they're not all his songs,
Like where he would put them, or the best.
what does he think?
Ranking
All
the
My
songs
Loving,
we just
Tomorrow
talked
Never
about?
Know- Yeah, if you rank those four as a foursome, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, he
I think
All
he
My
put
Loving
"All My
first,
Loving"
for
first. I
sure.
think he put "Tomorrow Never Knows." You can't do that. He put "Free as a Bird," and then "You Can't Do That."
It
No,
wasn't.
it
You
wasn't.
can't do that. You don't even know the name of my song.
Wow.
You're highlighted in the wrong cell. And it,
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, tell me why.
I mean,
And then he would put, "You can't do that. Tell me why."
you think he put "Tell Me Why" behind?
So
Free as
he
a
would
Bird?
we all agree.
if you were Paul, shit, I'm arguing for "Free as a Bird." If you're Paul, that's a pretty amazing moment. Like, this is kind of pre-technology, before you could do all of this stuff, and it's like Paul can sing with John and put this out in the world. Like,
Yeah, now
and
he's
it
got
was
a-
like an international, global, like, Shit, should we be moving Free as a Bird
Keep
up this
going.
list? Should it
No.
should it be in the number 2 slot?
But the one thing I got out of it was you said everybody pretty much said All My Lovin's number 1.
Yeah. All My Loving is too low. Like I think you're probably
agree?
right about
All right.
that, but I
I go
want
too
to
high with
address
it?
the Free as a Bird in the room. You know, like it is.
To be honest,
Ah.
All My Loving was the song I was going to talk about first. I told you guys I had 4 songs.
Right.
I was going to move All My Loving up. I was actually going to move it one higher than Scotty did. I was going to put it above Being for the Benefit of Mr.
Ooh.
Kite. I was going to
That
hot
was
take
a hot
that thing.
take, bold move.
That's a hot
yeah.
take, especially that we just saw Paul do Being for the Benefit.
I know.
So.
Yeah, he played the bass. That's a tough
Yeah,
thing
playing
to
the
do
bass
on
and
that
singing
one.
that at the same time.
Oh,
Blew my
seriously.
brain out.
Seriously, I had to go get a
Well-
pretzel.
Fellas,
Yeah, that's the funny thing
I
about the
think we
stadium
did
thing.
it.
Like, I don't see a lot of music and eat food, but I did eat a pretzel with my mom. I split the pretzel. I didn't really split it equally. I had 3 quarters. She had a quarter.
yeah, yeah,
Fuck
Mom.
me.
she
you
did
can
say
have
she
a
was
little.
starving after the show. Fellas, I think we did it. I think that was the 2nd annual Blotto Vetoes.
With no
Great
veto,
job, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, with no what?
veto. We
This was
didn't
the
get
problem
anywhere
with
No
that.
veto,
This
right?
is the problem of adding a
We have
4th
perfect
of adding
lists.
RB.
Yeah.
So we either
Really-
need to
really screwed it up.
We need a 5th.
we either
now?
need to get kick some. We need to fire someone, or we need to get a 5th. So we'll have those discussions.
Circle of
offline.
fifths.
Because what we need on this podcast is one more voice.
One more drunken, interrupting.
Forgetful.
We'll be back real soon with an episode. We were actually hoping to release one this week. We're throwing this one up instead, and we'll be getting an episode maybe in the coming days. You'll see something very soon from us. But as always, we do encourage you to enjoy Blotto Beatles responsibly. Please subscribe to us, rank us on your podcast app of choice. Visit blottobeatles.com once again, where there is a sale on the old t-shirt shop. And please, drunk dial us. Give us a message. Drop us a line about how you think this veto discussion went this evening, and or on the socials at Blotto Beatles, Twitter, Instagram, etc. You can find us everywhere you go. That's all I got, everyone. You got anything?
All I got
Scotty.
is peace and love.
And
but
love.
What do you got?
Play
I
us
got
out
a
on
little
the
bit of
theme
peace
song.
and love as well.
Oh, you want a little something on the way out?
As we all enjoy Blotto Beatles responsibly, play us out.
Good night.
Tommy was right.
When is he wrong?